Yo, what's good, beautiful souls? This is Josh Sterling. I'm coming to you guys with another news special on the Spirit Reading 888 show. Tonight, although it's a beautiful day every day, my goal here is to shed light on the beast because I want to slaughter the beast. So I want to tackle dysfunction, immoral behavior, and things that are not in spiritual moral integrity, right? So, um, today we have this lady. Her name is Mitchelle Blair, 36, of Detroit, Michigan, who 6 years ago, her two children were found in a freezer, brutally tortured and just burnt, beat up, and smothered to death, to where they literally had bags put over their face and smothered and killed. Okay? But this is a tough one. Okay? And then this is why this is a tough one. Okay? So, a Detroit mother pleaded guilty Monday of killing two of her children and placing their bodies in the deep freezer in her home. Mitchelle Blair, 36, has openly admitted to killing her daughter, 13-year-old Stoni Blair, and son 9-year-old Stephen Barry. She was arrested in March after deputies who evicted her from her apartment found the children's bodies. She said, and I quote, "I don't regret none of this," Blair told the judge Monday, reported to the Associated Press. "I don't feel no remorse for the death of those demons." Okay, so she has two older children and two younger children. These two children are in the middle, right? Um, so I'm their one youngest child. Okay. Um, Stoni Blair was the child that was molesting and raping the baby brother and the 9-year-old brother, Stephen Barry, who was found in the freezer. She forced the 9-year-old son to help her rape the youngest one because she was envious and jealous of him being the baby and getting all the attention. And so she would do things like take her menstrual blood, squeeze it in her mouth. Oh, listen. Um, and would play with his, rape him, to where she would have to get stool softeners for the baby, and she wouldn't know what was wrong, and the baby wasn't able to vocalize what the issue was until when he was, um, she started beating her young daughter, and then, but first she started beating the young son, not understanding that he was being raped and beat up as well by this oldest daughter. The older two children were not being beat, were not being hurt or mistreated. But I got something to say. So after I dove into the energy of this case, um, we want to keep in mind that mental illness is real. Um, in a lot of families, there are family curses that go against anything moral, um, incest, rape, that can only be defeated through spiritual strength and tenacity, right? So, on top of this mother was dealing with the fathers not being there. All of her children, majority of them got different fathers. So she was going through this mind disposition of not being able to take care of these children, and then the father's not being able to help with her financially. So she's already burnt out. If she wasn't burnt out, or they would have came and got the men that impregnated her would have came and stepped in to take responsibility, these things probably wouldn't happen. That's why you don't need to be having children just because it's good sex or just because um, it feels good. Okay, so now we got children out here that aren't being raised appropriately, that aren't able to conquer the flesh properly. And so now you have hatred among siblings, brothers against brothers, sisters against brothers, and it gets out of control, right? Um, if this 13-year-old is molesting and raping her little brother, little sister, where do you think she got this stuff from? She learned this from somewhere. But what's surprising to me is that the older two wasn't touched, because you know why? They were the mother and father. Are you following me? Okay. So the two oldest children are put in custody, and now they're in foster care. She admitted to kill. She's not remorseful. She felt like she killed demons, um, and that's justifiably so. However, you are their mother. Okay, every person, child is put into spirit, is put into a body, happy, without a care in the world. They have to be taught to be destructive. A person has to be taught to be abusive. So see, young Stoni Blair learned this from somewhere. As just like that 9-year-old Stephen Barry that she also murdered her son, learned it from the oldest sister. See, but she killed that baby boy as well, which doesn't make sense to me when you know that just like you killed both of them because they was mistreating that baby boy. I'm probably more understand if she would have did it to just that 13-year-old for some reason. It still wouldn't be right, but that just shows you how mentally unstable she is, and she needs to be locked up. Okay. But we need to figure out who mishandled this 13-year-old. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of this stuff goes unrecognized, it goes unnoticed, it is taboo, but nobody is talking about it. Okay. I have a cousin that had 2 kids with her dad, that everybody just, this is all family curse, that people aren't looking at as, this is terrible. This is terrible. 2 children now are left as vegetables because they shook the babies. And now the babies are in homes being raised alone without no family. Unacceptable. I'm saying this to say there's a lot of this going on in society. It doesn't bind. It's not about race. It's not about gender. It's about poor upbringing. It's about people just living and not trying to tackle these family curses at a core. You understand what I'm saying? Things are not okay. It's not okay. If it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It has got to be addressed and not swept underneath the carpet. You understand? Okay. So here she is right now confessing, like, I did it. I did it. You understand? But this little boy right here, he shouldn't have been killed like that because she did that to him. But then it's like hurt people hurt people. So who hurt these babies? Who hurt these babies? Okay. Here she go again. I really feel in her mind, she felt as though what she did was justifiable. But baby, you're not God, and you chose to have these babies. Okay, so how you raised them or how they reacted. So you have no one to blame but yourself. So maybe you should have smothered and tortured yourself. Perhaps. You feel me? Because you cannot sit here and honestly go to court, defend yourself like I killed them because woo woo wham wham, and they're your kids that you laid down and have that they learned from you daily. Oh, but wait a minute. Maybe she didn't raise them. Maybe the 2 oldest kids raised them. Come on. But who do we have to blame? Mitchelle Blair. Okay? Um, Unacceptable. This backwoods behavior got to stop. Okay? A lot of this stuff people don't want to speak on because it's taboo. But I'm here for it. This is causing a bruise on humanity as a whole. Okay? Even Stoni Blair needed someone to listen to her, who hurt her. You having kids, this little young girl didn't get that time with her mom. She didn't feel needed or wanted. None of their daddies wanted to be around them. Why? I see why. If she did that to their babies, I wonder what she did around them dudes and why they don't want to be around her. But as I seen that trial, the guys were hurt, but they were unremorseful about not dealing with that woman. They knew that woman was messed up. So I definitely feel like they should have got their babies, because in that trial, they knew she was missing. Something was wrong with her. Okay? Unacceptable. We got to do better. We got to do better. I send love and light to this family, to them kids. And you best believe it didn't start at the middle child. Okay? It did not start at that middle baby. So here in Africa, under Gua, a wife, I think that's Enugu State, where allegedly the husband, 51 years old, murdered the 3 children and stuck them in a freezer. Okay? Because he felt as though she was sleeping with another man, and things got extra hard on the family, the spirit is saying. Okay? So this sent him into a rage, because of course it's hard to take care of kids in other countries. But then when you feel like, excuse me, in these countries, a woman is supposed to be are considered less than men. And so what's the best way for a man to get their point across? Okay? Unacceptable. This is happening worldwide. This type of unjust, despicable behavior. Let's forget about your other brethren, your children. Okay? These days, you don't know who your friend or your family is. If your daddy's up here killing you, your mama's up here killing you, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? What's going on, my people? Okay, so I went ahead and I added some other cases. I left out names and whatnot because that's not what's important at this moment. This is another case where she killed her 2 kids and put them in the freezer. She was on some type of substance and wigged out. Okay. And they weren't eating. And so they kind of died of hunger. And it just went left from there. And she didn't know what to do. Okay. Got to lift these kids in prayer. These kids were also killed and put in a freezer. Unacceptable. It was all because of a man that this woman was in love with her husband, and when he went and cheated on her, the best way to get back at him was to kill his spawn, kill his kids. Okay. Unfortunately, you got to watch who you have kids with. You got to watch who you lay down with. You got to watch who you marry, even who you have around your babies. You understand what I'm saying? Most definitely. And I was just watching this case with these kids were left in this freezer out in the backyard. And literally the kids ran out of oxygen because they said they were back there playing, but the latch was locked. Okay. And so as I dove into the energy of this case, it was intentional. But the news is considering it a suicide. The kids were playing and were left in there, and the latch just accidentally shut. Do you see how false narratives are not holding people responsible? Okay? You got to be careful. You don't need no man to validate you. You don't need no woman to validate you. If you're just having a baby because you're just infatuated with some man or some woman, that is not the reason to have a baby. If you don't love being a mother, if you don't love the divine union and that you guys could produce together and create a beautiful spawn and raise the spawn to be a productive member of society and be a better version of himself, you don't need to have no babies. Okay? If you're not ready to break family curses of murder, molestation, um, and incest and all that other type of nasty stuff, then you don't need to have no babies. Because you don't just be mentally ill and then next thing you know, you're not mentally ill. You got to do that self-work before you feel like you need to bring life into this world. So my goal here is to slaughter the beast, and these are the type of things that are bringing excuse my language, a bruise on humanity. Okay, that we've got to cease and desist. Okay, we have God putting these pure souls into these bodies, into this flesh, but this flesh is toxic. And these parents aren't doing what they need to do to ensure that this flesh is worked out in a way to where there's a good mesh and that this person can create love and light and cross boundaries. These people are creating murderers and killers and mentally disabled spawn that are producing and reproducing more. I'm just a messenger. Don't be mad at me. I'm probably just saying what you won't say, but I'm here for it. We got to do better. We got to lift these kids up in the name of love and light. And hopefully when these kids come back to the school called Earth, they're in a better family that's ready for their love and ready for their care, that can raise them to not be child molesters, to not molest their brothers and sisters, to not incest or none of that type of stuff. That is not okay. All right? Everybody on TV looking at social media, looking at the reality stars, going to the BET Awards, looking at VH1 and seeing what life is, this perfect life. But underneath this beautiful exterior of money and fame, and not just BET, because I love BET, but any of these main networks that are showing life to where it's just beautiful, fuzzy, and a wet dream. It's not like that at the base. There are families that are really battling family curses to a full extent. And they need help. And the neighbors knew these kids were in hard terrain. There's neighbors that knew these kids needed help. There are neighbors and friends that knew these children were being raised terribly, but they did not choose to step in. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. You don't have to know them to love them. You don't have to know them to wish them well. Okay? You don't even have to relate to them. Suppose you're straight and a person is a transgender or a gay person. That don't mean you can't love them. Just because you don't agree with what they do. Jealousy, envy, greed is the root of all evil. Love combats everything and defeats all evil. Namaste. I love you guys.